Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my 5 Elements and Better Relationships video series. Before I start, I'd like to ask a question. How many personality profiling tests and psychometric tests have you done over the years? I must have done about a dozen, maybe more. Some of them have worked. Maybe I've played with them for a couple of weeks and then the novelty has definitely worn off, and others have not resonated at all. But then when I started to study for traditional acupuncture, I was introduced to the 5 Elements philosophy. And as nature's own personality profiling tool, it has surpassed every other one I've ever tried. And it very much has stood the test of time. Not only is it about 3,000 years old, but I've used it every day of my life for the last 16 years, in my clinical practice, in my practice as a spirit level mentor, and in my personal life. And I can safely say my relationship with myself and with other people have been so much better as a result. So the 5 elements are based on the belief that all matter and energy in the universe is made up of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. That they are in constant interaction with each other and constantly dynamically transform from one to another. They have their own set of correspondences or characteristics, and they inform absolutely everything that we perceive in the outside world and everything that we think, feel and do in our own personal, emotional, energetic landscape. We are, of course, all of the elements all of the time, but there will be one element that you resonate with more than the others. And I call this the primary element, because this element is responsible for your habituated response to life. Your very first thought, your very first feeling, your very first impulse to take action or reaction will come from your primary element. And it explains an awful lot about your personality. It is in fact your personal why I am the way I am, why I do what I do. And once known, my goodness me, so many conundrums and idiosyncrasies are beautifully explained in a way that is utterly non-judgmental. And this is why I love this philosophy so much. It is non-divisive, non-polarizing, non-judgmental. It unifies us, transcending gender, religion, cultural, political divides, and brings us together as humanity. All of life on the planet, all emanating from the same 5 elements. And yes, we express the elements differently, uniquely in our own individuated personality, but ultimately we all come back to the same thing: wood, fire, earth, metal and water. And I think in these times of division, it's so refreshing to have an ancient philosophy that is even more appropriate and required in this day and age than it ever has been in the past. So how do we get to know the elements if you're not familiar with them so far? Well, the easiest way to begin with is to tap into their corresponding season. Wood is spring, fire is early summer, earth is late summer, metal is autumn, and water is winter. So already you're getting a feeling for the energetic signature of each of the elements just by thinking what it feels like to be going through the annual cycle. What effect do those seasons have on you? Do you have a favourite? Do you have one that you are least fond of? Is there one you avoid like the plague? Is there one that you would rather live in for the rest of your life? All of these will be indicative of your primary element and also your elemental balance. Now, in nature, of course, all the elements are innately designed to be in perfect balance and harmony. Us humans have a rougher time of it, and we are very much prey to the ebbs and flows of life, and we will be affected by external events and also our own internal thoughts and feelings. So it's probably safe to say that for humans, our elements veer off balance routinely, and they will either veer toward a deficient state or a state of being in excess. So less than or more than the appropriate balanced position. Now, the primary element will fall out of balance more often than the others. And if it goes, it will take some of the others, if not all of them, with it. So our internal harmony will be severely affected by any of the elements going out of balance, but particularly our primary element. So it seems to me really useful to know our primary element and to also be able to recognise the signs of when that goes out of balance and when the other elements are also suitably challenged. Because if we can take quick, decisive action to restore balance and harmony, then our relationships are going to be much, much better as a result. So let's look at a case study then, perhaps. How do these elements actually interact? You know, what is the effect of them on our relationships? Well, let's look at a case study then of somebody with a fire. Fire is their primary element. Now, fire in balance is joy, it's optimism, it's the sunny side of the mountain, it's sociable, it's creative, it's spontaneous, it doesn't like to be stuck doing the mundane things. It's the person who walks into a party and just lights up the room with their presence and everybody feels warm. And fire gives us the ability to form meaningful and intimate relationships, to feel passion and to feel love. We all have the fire within us, but as you listen to this, some of you may be thinking, not as much joy and fun in my life as I would like. Absolutely. So in the balanced state, fantastic. Let's look at this person and say they have a fire that is deficient. And why might that have come about? Well, fire will suffer greatly from any affairs of the heart that go wrong. So a relationship breakup has left that person feeling terribly sad, very lonely. Maybe they've cut themselves off from their social network. Maybe they've hardened their heart and will say, I'll never trust again if they feel they've been betrayed. There may be some toxicity and cynicism that's crept in, and they'll be feeling incredibly fragile and vulnerable and very sensitive to other people around them. And they will take everything personally. That is the signature of a deficient fire. So this person is in the office going about their daily work quietly and sadly. And then in comes their colleague. And let's say their colleague has a wood element as their primary element. Now, wood in balance is full of hope, is full of vision for how to make the world a better place for everybody. It's win-win. It's flexible. It's about planning and decision making. And it has this extraordinary assertiveness that comes with it. And if all you have to do is think about a snowdrop busting up through an inch of snow and frozen ground, because nothing is going to stop it from being the snowdrop, fulfilling its destiny. So you can often hear the wood coming, believe you me. Anyway, so we have this dear soul in the office with a deficient fire, and we have the wood person coming in, and let's say the wood person the wood is in excess. Now, the wood is normally on the lookout for things that it feels are unjust and unfair. It fights on behalf of the underdog. And normally in balance, it will take that frustration and that righteous indignation and turn it into positive action. If a wood is out of balance, it will not be able to do that. And it will sit on that frustration and it will fester and it will get bigger and more eruptive, to the point that one day it will blow like a volcano. And the person will be lacking all flexibility. So when that person comes in with the plan and has made a decision as to how that plan is to be activated, there will be no discussion. It will be telling and directing. It will not be collaborative and it will not be negotiable. My way or the highway for wood in excess. And that assertiveness, if challenged, will become stubbornness. And if challenged again, will become belligerence. And that assertiveness will become very, very powerful energy. Now, you can see it all playing out. You've probably seen this playing out in your own workspace, perhaps in your own close relationships. The fire will fold under this assertive blast of energy. It will feel deeply wounded that it hasn't been collaborated with, that it hasn't been communicated with, that there is no relationship building going on here, and it will think that it's being done to them personally. and they will take it very personally and very badly indeed. And if the wood feels challenged, its general reaction in excess is, for God's sake, man up, stop being so sensitive, just get on with the job. You just know how this is going to go, and the gulf between the two will get wider and wider and wider. Bring in the mediators. It's not going to go well. However, what the fire will want from wood is an apology at best, or for the wood to be removed. That is the current zeitgeist. The fire deficiency means that it cannot contend with the wood. It cannot cope with the wood in excess at all. And the default position now seems to be remove the wood. Well, that's like summer saying, I'm cancelling spring. Spring is too much in my face. I'm an ease back, sit back, chillax, smell the roses sort of fiery person. I'm just going to let things quietly mature and ripen in the garden. Well, without spring, there would be nothing to ripen and nothing to mature. The whole reason that fire can sit back and smell the roses in the summer is because wood has done all of that initiatory action to get the burst of growth going, which then allows the fire to just ease back and let it all come to fruition. So cancelling spring because summer is unable to deal with the assertive thrust of spring is not the answer. And in fact, summer, given the choice, would probably cancel summer, I'm going to say fire in deficiency, would probably cancel winter, because the long nights, the short days, the cold weather, people stay in, there's not so much socialising, there's no, oh, come on, let's get up and go for a picnic. All of that is gone in winter. So this will be a slow death for fire, so they'd rather get rid of the winter as well. And then because fire is so yang and so full of life, don't we love it, that it will probably want to cancel autumn as well, because autumn is about death. It's the antithesis to the fire's life. So we can't have, because of the fire deficiency, much of the seasonal energy appears to have to be cancelled, and it makes no sense. What makes sense is that the fire deficiency is nurtured and brought back into balance so that the fire can once again step out in full enjoyment of life and partake in the full breadth and depth of the fire element's gifts, not continue in its ever growing sadder world where the rest of the world is getting smaller and sadder around it. And the wood in excess, yes, work needs to be done there too. That anger has to be funneled and channeled into something positive. That righteous indignation has to spurt a very an action that brings about the betterment of all, not at the expense of somebody, but for everybody, back to the win-win. So work to be done on both sides, but the responsibility ultimately rests with the individual to bring their own deficiencies back into balance. So there endeth the introduction to the 5 elements, and I will be going into it in a lot more detail in individual videos following this. If you want to know more, I've got a website, clairetaylorpowell.co.uk/5 element profiling. I'm on Facebook as Claire Taylor-Powell Spirit Level Mentor on the Path to Mastery, and I have a public Facebook group, the 5 Elements and Better Relationships, and it would be lovely to see you there and to start a conversation about your elemental landscape and how you feel those elements are working for you or not so much. Okay, I'll close now. Looking forward to sharing some more information with you about the 5 elements very shortly. Go well, may it be easy. Blessed be.